And welcome today to Let's Talk It Over. If this is your first time joining us, my name is Anicque Brinkman, and with me is my wonderful co-host, Mr. Kenneth Weene. Now today, everybody has thoughts that go through their mind, and Ken and I are no different than anyone else, so we thought we might just touch a few topics today on little things that have crossed our mind or big things that have crossed our mind.
Okay. Yeah. I will say things go through my mind. Often they go one ear out the other, but some get caught and bounce around.
Yes, and some of them stick.
It's a book. Okay. Now, usually we have authors on to talk about their books or something, but this book, it just happens. I met this lady online on Facebook, and I happen to think her idea was a great one. It's called FFS, for fuck's sake, my Rant journal, and at the top there's a subtitle: 50 ideas with space to bitch about them. Alexis, Anicque, Anicque. And it is available on Amazon if you want
to. We can have a link up.
Now, I'm going to show you the interior. Okay, blank pages, basically. Up at the top, things that you want to rant about. So it's basically, it's a prompt for journaling.
Yeah, like a rant journal.
Yeah. Now, I would have liked it if it had more organization, because you have to kind of go through and like, what's for dinner, and then the dumbest boss, and I don't understand the connect, but that and I would have put lines in because I hate writing on a blank.
I know it never goes straight, does it?
But I really think this is something I love the idea, and I love the fact that Alexis, this woman, she is somebody who really does speak her mind. And I love that in a woman. So, Monica, next for you. What's crossed your mind lately?
Well, I think a lot of things that are going on right now have crossed my mind as a woman, because I'm having a little difficulty in grasping why so many feel that women's opinions don't matter, or that they're second-class citizens. And I fear we're going back to the 1950s, and that, we fought for years for this, and they're slowly taking away women's rights. It's like they want to put them in their place, which I think is the White House, but. And you see it all the time, little subtle things even. But I really wanted to bring forth today a woman that I think is one of the bravest, strongest women that I've seen in quite a while, and that's Cassidy Hutchinson. Cassidy, everybody's, not everybody, but a minority of Americans are out there attacking her for coming forward. And I want people to think a minute. This is a woman who was an intern, and she eventually got a prominent position within the White House. She is a Republican. She voted for Trump. She was still fighting for him for re-election. And she happened to be in the midst of a lot of things that she says was going on. Now, when she didn't come forward voluntarily, but when she was contacted and subpoenaed, she came forward, as every American should do when they're subpoenaed by an investigative committee. And she took an oath under God, which means a lot to her. And she told her truth, her experiences of what had happened. She knew, Ken, that this was going to be hard, that people were going to turn on her, that they would lie about her, that they would sling everything they could at her for speaking up. But she did it anyway.
I'm curious here, Monica. I'm pretty active on social media, and I read God knows how many newspapers and news sources every day. And I haven't had the feeling people are going, I think a few people have gone after her.
Well, my representative does.
I'm sorry?
My district representative, who is in the Senate, goes after her.
Yeah. This is.
So I see that side of it.
Well, wait a minute. You're saying your district representative, you mean in Congress?
Yes.
Okay, your congressman, your House of Representatives. Yeah. I think there are a few people. I mean, I'm not saying nobody has. I mean, Trump has said she was a nobody, and supposedly somebody at the
Engel coming out and saying, "Oh, he never said this never happened," or "Come on."
Yeah, Giuliani. I love Giuliani's response. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
He says, "I never asked Trump for a pardon. In fact, I said to him, I didn't want a pardon." Now, that implies that the topic of a pardon actually did come up.
Yeah, the more they lie, the deeper they get into their lies.
Yeah.
And, Ken, even Nixon, when we started hearing about Watergate and this stuff, he was reelected.
Well, he was reelected before all the truth came.
Most of it came out, right? There was just a little sprinkling of it. And the truth came out.
Mm-hmm.
He tried to strong arm everybody also.
Well, the questions I have are, let's assume for the moment that everything this woman said is true. And I have no reason to disbelieve her.
Yeah, people who have worked with her have said that they would not, they would believe her. She took an oath, and it means a lot to her.
I'm not arguing that at all. I mean, let's assume we all believe her. The next thing becomes, okay, what do we as a nation do about it? And therein lies the real problem.
Yeah.
Now, if she's not telling the truth, okay, I'll just quite simply, all we have to do is wait for these Secret Service agents to come forward and say, "Oh, no, I never said that to her." Because she didn't say she was in the car, as I understand it. She just said, "They told me this."
Yeah, she was in the room with him, and I forgot who else it was, but it was another representative in our government.
But, so she is saying, this is what I heard. It's hearsay evidence, absolutely. And they have every right to come forward and say, "Oh, no, I never said that," if in fact they didn't.
Exactly.
I think that the real challenge here is to people like Giuliani, like Trump, people to actually say, "Okay, I want to go and talk."
That's the problem I have. You're denying this, but none of you are coming forward to show any proof or evidence at all that this didn't happen.
Right. So, yeah. And she is now thrown down the gauntlet. And I think that what really, and this is the thing that makes her so brave, is she's like the bullfighter's cape. If you want to say it, the bullfighter is, in this instance, is this congressional committee. But she is their cape. They put her over their sword, and they're waving it. And now the question is the bull going to charge? And if the bull charges, okay, that bull better be a pretty gutsy bull. And I have a feeling that what they really are hoping is that some of these people, like Giuliani, like Trump, will respond. Talking about unpleasant things, that's what we do on this podcast sometimes. Sometimes we're talking about pleasant stuff. Sometimes we talk about great music. And
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, we'll have more of that coming, I know.
Yeah, we're going to be doing more of those too. But, sometimes we have to talk about stuff that makes us uncomfortable. So what crossed my mind, another thing that crossed my mind this week, Monica, is homosexuality. Now, you know that I am very concerned about religion in this country. Now, I'm not anti-religious.
No,
I
know
think
you're not.
I think religion can be a wonderful thing. I've struggled with issues of faith all my life because of the way I was brought up. In fact, I deal with a lot of that, like in my poetry, in my books, my novels. I was raised kind of Jewish, and then I went to a very Protestant school. Mm-hmm. And then I went back to Judaism sort of in college, and then I started attending the Catholic Mass. And then at some point I found the Quaker faith, and then Unitarian, and then for a while I was actually ordained by a small Protestant faith. So, this is something I take very, very seriously.
I know you do, Kim.
Yeah. Now, one of the topics that religion in this country has gotten very head up about is sexuality. And even our dear friend Yves, who has been on the show, this is a subject that he gets very intense about. Homosexual. Now, of course, he and his wife Jennifer, they've been in the military. Homosexuality, bisexuality, transgender issues. These are pretty difficult things. Talk about your cape for the bull. I mean, these are things that get people pretty riled.
Yeah.
So I was delighted to find in, I believe it was the Washington Post, a very nice magazine, a very nice article this week about homosexuality in the animal kingdom. And evidently, it isn't just our friends, the bonobos, which everybody knows the bonobos will basically have sex with everybody. But evidently, it's quite common in homosexuality and all kinds of weird preferences, and even with penguins, a couple male penguins will bond together, and they'll steal an egg to raise.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, to raise the chick. So, for whatever reasons, and there are probably more than one reason. Now, from a survival point of view, that one of the advantages of homosexuality is clearly to create mutuality. We know that when you have sex, whether it's homosexual or heterosexual, your oxytocin level goes up, and that increases bonding and caring. Mm-hmm. So, one of the very simple things is that you need to have a certain level of cooperation, right? Especially when you're living in troops. When you have like a bunch of animals living together, mm-hmm. you have to have this. And if you don't, then you have to have like only. Well, you have to have. If you only have a male leader and then the females have to attach to each other. Otherwise, you got a problem with their offspring, right? Hey, Mama Lion.
Yeah.
I don't want that other little cub over there. But also, if you have like a chimpanzees, if you're going to have more than one male in the troop, well, that male is, it just can't be subservient, because then when you get to another troop, the one who is subservient, if I'm king and the other guy is my second in command, he's gonna, when I find another troop to fight, he's gonna come up behind me and stab me in the back.
Yeah.
There's got to be this cooperation and this mutuality and this sense of togetherness. And that seems to be pretty common in the animal kingdom. Now, this brings up something else, that one of the great arguments is that God creates male and female. Well, actually, if you look at evolution, God didn't create male and female. We start with basically asexual kinds of organisms that can play both roles, whatever. And this is a later development, this sexing. And it's not irreversible. There are animals there where one animal becomes, where I think it's a kind of snail, where they all start out male.
Yeah.
and then they get the pairing off, and then as they pair off, for some reason one becomes female. Now, if they don't become female, they don't have any offspring.
Exactly.
And here's where it gets really wild. If you remove the female from that snail pair and leave that male, and there are other snails around, those male snails, some of them will only pair up with another female, one that has already become female in a previous pair, and some prefer a male.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this is God's kingdom, folks. And but people just hide it.
Mm-hmm. People don't want to deal with the real world. They want to deal with this fantasy world from a book that's a few thousand years old, and that revisions of which that didn't agree with it, by the way, were thrown out. It's not that everybody at that time said, "Oh, you have to have this." No, what is that Jesus never talked about stoning people, killing people, destroying people. He talked about curing people. He talked about loving people. He talked about forgiving people. Now I happen, again, I allude to, I've got this kind of weird religious background, and I write a lot about.
Yeah, we need to talk about this on another show, I think.
But one of the things I really like about Jesus, one of the reasons that I think of him as potentially one of the great religious, certainly one of the great religious figures of all time, was his capacity to bring love rather than judgment.
Yes.
So please, folks, when you see those two male snails kind of heading down the path, wiggling their way down the path, don't condemn them.
No.
But if it makes you angry, then speak up. Get yourself a copy of this book.
And write it down, and then come on and tell us what you wrote down, right?
And even contact us on Facebook or, through my website, KennethWeene.com, and tell us that you want to come on and rant about something.
Yeah, because we're here. We're open.
Yeah, and you don't have to agree with us. You want to come on and tell us why you think that you should crush those snails. Well, you can come.
Okay. Well, with that, folks, I think this is the end of this show. We will have some links down, especially for this book or journal, I should call it. And like Ken said, we always welcome people's opinions, just so you're civil. Okay, with that, Ken, I'm going to say goodbye to next time.
Bye.